A seasoned veteran, after experiencing a brutal war, decided to return to his homeland. He walked from Laos, traversing vast distances to return to Moscow. On the way, while passing through a small town, he inadvertently violated an unwritten local law. Without responding, two low-ranking police officers in uniform stopped him and demanded to see his papers. While one of them searched his luggage, he seemed to notice something hidden in the leather jacket. The man quickly lifted his jacket to reveal a dagger. Both police officers were startled. "What is this?" "A knife. I have a permit to carry a knife," the man calmly replied. Despite the man's assertion that he had a permit, the two officers still demanded he hand over the knife. Upon examining it, they realized it was a Kurdi knife from the Nepalese army. Without further explanation, they handcuffed him. Looking around to ensure no one was watching, one of them suddenly struck him with a baton. Unexpectedly, the man with quick reflexes easily dodged it. The other officer charged to hit him, but the man leaned to the right, pushed the other officer to the ground. The two officers drew their guns and forced the man into the car. He didn't want to make things difficult for them, so he obediently turned around and stepped up. But at that moment, the hefty officer swung his baton hard against his back. The man didn't utter a single sound, only looked at him with a deadly gaze. These two officers had no idea that they would pay dearly for their actions. Taken back to the station, they confiscated all his belongings and handcuffed him again. Calling this a police station is no better than calling it a den of thieves. They deliberately disrupted public order and collected protection money from the citizens, then shared it with their accomplices. At this moment, a captain entered the cell and asked the man why he wasn't answering his questions. The man did not respond, so he struck him with a baton. The man only let out a muffled groan. Unexpectedly, this guy turned out to be quite stubborn. This only further provoked the captain's brutality. He swung the baton at the man's face, growling, "Only when permitted can one look directly at me. Who are you?" The man looked at him with disdain. He had never seen anyone more arrogant than himself. A rain of blows fell upon the man, and still unsatisfied, the captain pulled out an electric baton. Unable to endure any longer, the man charged at the captain and delivered a sweeping kick to take down the officer. Just as the captain was about to lose his temper, other officers rushed in to restrain him. He had no idea that his life was being threatened. They were summoned to the deputy director's office. Seeing the sharp Kurdi knife, the ignorant leader asked him why he brought such a knife to their town. The man simply replied with one word, "Enemy." The leader found it amusing. At that moment, the portly director walked into the office. In the entire police station, only this director had any sense. He ordered the man to be uncuffed and examined his identification. It turned out the man's name was Shamanov, a major in the special forces. Upon hearing this name, the cowardly policemen almost wet their pants, regretting their previous actions, don't they? The director immediately ordered his subordinates to return all belongings to Shamanov. Thinking everything was settled, the director picked up Shamanov's Megapixel 3 to listen to music. This foolish action nearly led to the downfall of the entire police station. Shamanov stepped out of the office and encountered a beautiful girl. He had the feeling that he had met her somewhere before. Shortly after leaving the gate, Shamanov suddenly remembered that he had left his Megapixel 3 in the director's office. This treasure couldn't be lost. Whenever he felt troubled, he relied on it to improve his mood. He immediately returned to the office and witnessed the director engaging in vile acts with the girl from earlier. Seeing the girl standing huddled in the corner with a helpless expression, Shamanov stood frozen. Not wanting to interfere in others' affairs, he still picked up the Megapixel 3, unplugged the cord, and wrapped it tightly around it. The director was approaching while he wedged the Megapixel 3 between his index and middle fingers, slowly turning around. The Russian Maroon Beret paratroopers are indeed formidable. This strike must have at least several dozen pounds of force. The police chief, weighing over 200 kilograms, now lay helpless on the floor. Shamanov delivered another blow to his forehead. The police chief collapsed to the ground. Shamanov knew what he had to do next. He picked up the ashtray, unplugged the phone cord, didn't forget to take the lighter, and then pulled the dazed girl out of the office. He walked away leisurely as if nothing had happened. A policeman was about to enter the room to check, and Shamanov immediately pulled the ashtray out of his pocket. As soon as he opened the door, the ashtray struck him directly on the head. Seeing Shamanov holding the phone cord in his hand, the policemen in the station suddenly realized. They saw Shamanov about to leave, drew their guns to stop him, but were stunned by the phone cord thrown at them. The remaining policemen were quickly taken down by Shamanov. The beautiful girl widened her eyes in astonishment. How could these low-ranking policemen be a match for a special forces soldier? Before leaving, Shamanov didn't forget to dismantle all the weapons in the police station, then pulled the girl outside. But they accidentally wandered into the police station's break room, not knowing where the back door was. The policemen here were the ones who had previously caused trouble with Shamanov. He pushed the girl outside, deciding to teach these bastards a lesson. This was a real-life demonstration of a counter-attack technique. These inexperienced policemen couldn't even withstand a single round. Another young policeman saw the chaotic scene and was about to rush in to stop it. But Shamanov twisted his arm 360 degrees and flipped him 180 degrees to the ground. Shamanov continued to pull the girl by the hand towards the foot of the stairs. They encountered the deputy director, and before he could understand what was happening, Shamanov delivered a swift punch to his right temple. He charged straight ahead, and no one could withstand even 3 moves from Shamanov. He didn't want to take the lives of these people, otherwise with the tactics he had used on the battlefield, no police officer would have survived. Once outside, Shamanov even politely lit a cigarette for a policeman and gifted him the police chief's lighter. The corners of the girl's eyes were still wet with tears. On the way, she was extremely tense. She knew she had caused a major disaster. If caught, those rotten police would surely torture her to death. She told Shamanov to quickly leave the town and not to worry about her anymore. At the same time, the captain had regained consciousness. The first thing he did was call his team to issue a warrant for Shamanov. He had never suffered such a great humiliation before, and was determined to regain his lost honor. The girl didn't want to involve Shamanov any further, so when she saw a policeman rushing towards them, she pushed him down. Seeing that the girl wouldn't leave, and with police cars chasing from behind, Shamanov had no choice but to speed away. The police cars were closely tailing behind. They were determined to take down Shamanov, firing their guns wildly. Shamanov swerved to dodge. Timing it perfectly, he made a spectacular turn and veered into a narrow road. The police continued their fierce pursuit, but their shooting skills were too poor, missing the target entirely. Shamanov sped down the slope. In midair, he jumped off the motorcycle towards the bulldozer. The captain emptied his magazine and then drew his pistol. In the end, he fired all the bullets from his pistol and still didn't hit a single shot. With shooting skills like that, it's a wonder how he even became a police officer. Just as he was about to get in the car to retreat, the bulldozer charged forward, pinning the hood of his car. Shamanov maneuvered the bulldozer to use the bucket to ram straight into the car. The captain ordered the driver to reverse immediately. Unexpectedly, a truck suddenly rushed in from behind. The entire police station was thrown into chaos by a visit from a mysterious stranger. After examining the scene, the police chief couldn't help but feel terrified. In the end, what kind of person have I provoked? At this moment, a subordinate reported that this person was a Special Forces soldier from the Maroon Beret unit who had participated in several top-secret missions, was awarded the medal twice for serving the country, and received several other medals for bravery in combat. Meanwhile, Shamanov was speeding like the wind on the mountaintop. He knew that by provoking these pests, they would never let him go. If they wanted to play, then he would play to the end. As for that foolish police chief, he didn't realize that his wrong decision had doomed the entire police station. Let's see how the Maroon Beret Special Forces will fend off the pursuit of an entire police station without using a single bullet. Now he was cornered in a ruin in the forest. First, he found a box of matches, some electrical cables, discarded rusty nails, and a few wooden planks. On the police side, they were still complaining about having to camp outdoors in the rain to hunt down the criminal. Little did they know that Shamanov was crafting a secret weapon. He wrapped the nails around the end of the wooden plank with the cable, finally using matches to burn the end of the cable to secure the trident of the sea god. Thus, it was quickly created. He placed them in different positions. After that, he found a small wooden house, searching for anything that could be used. A round metal plate and a secret passage. Once everything was ready, he took out the Megapixel 3, calmly waiting for the enemy to take the bait. Not long ago, Special Forces officer Shamanov caused a commotion at the police station by defending a beautiful girl, even killing 2 pursuing officers. To cover up the incident, the police set up camp near the forest and prepared to deploy sniffer dogs and helicopters. However, the police chief did not dare to call in the Special Forces for fear that his own misdeeds would be exposed. But they were unaware that all their actions were being monitored by Shamanov. He mapped out their attack route and deployed a combat plan. By evening, the 2 arrogant police officers, after drinking some brandy, decided to act on their own. They planned to take advantage of the night to launch a surprise attack, hoping to capture Shamanov quickly and achieve a great feat. Passing through a forest, they saw a firelight ahead, unexpectedly finding their target so easily. They wisely turned off their flashlights and carefully approached from behind. What's the situation inside? Hey, where are you? The reckless police officer just about to rush in was hit directly on the forehead by a plank. His partner hurriedly ran over to check, only to have his weapon kicked away by Shamanov. The other one, still intending to resist, was struck down to the ground by a flaming stick. Shamanov didn't kill them but gathered firewood and made them handcuff each other by the fire. The 2 of them were still dazed, not understanding what had just happened. Shamanov told them to relay a message to the major. Tell your major not to look for me anymore. Why? It's unnecessary. Early the next morning, the police chief discovered that the guards had disappeared. He didn't have time to worry much, immediately ordering everyone to take action. Seeing the wooden house, the whole group rushed to open the door. They then discovered that it was all their own men, sitting inside the house with bruised faces. The bald guy even tried to salvage some credit, claiming he almost caught Shamanov but just got caught in a trap. He leaned in and whispered to the police chief, telling the colonel not to look for him anymore. No, as it wasn't necessary. The police chief, upon hearing this, turned purple with rage and gave him a resounding slap. To quickly find Shamanov, the police chief ordered everyone to line up and expand the search area. Shamanov skillfully maneuvered through the forest while the police struggled with each step. Suddenly, two policemen stepped on animal traps one after the other. Shamanov immediately picked up the trident he had prepared, accurately threw it at the target, and quickly changed his position. Hearing the commotion, the police, in fear, fired their guns wildly, almost hitting their own men. Already, 3 people had fallen. He's dealing with us as if we're just a swarm of ants. The police realized the terror of Shamanov, as if his presence was everywhere in the forest. Just as the words were spoken, a trident flew from somewhere and struck one of them. Everyone chased after him while Rubov and you stayed here. You stood there, waiting for Shamanov's special instructions. Act quickly. Seeing the target, the police chief led the team in pursuit. Shamanov was a guerrilla warfare expert, and the jungle was like his own backyard. Very quickly, he disappeared from their sight. After a round, Shamanov returned, taking down the police officers who stayed behind to guard the injured one by one. His actions were swift and decisive. Hearing the commotion, their teammates rushed over to check, only to find Shamanov disassembling their guns, holding a knife to their throats, and ordering them to take the injured back to the vehicle and forbidding them to return. Clearly, Shamanov did not want to kill them. Meanwhile, the police chief led the team to the footbridge. The deputy police chief criticized the police chief for not inviting the special forces, disregarding everyone's lives. This remark only made the police chief more annoyed. He then told the deputy police chief to scout ahead. The bridge made from 2 tree trunks was very precarious to walk on, and a single misstep could lead to falling into the river. Shamanov had been waiting there for a long time. Despite the continuous gunfire, none hit Shamanov, so the group ended up playing hide and seek in the forest. The deputy police chief, being slow, was the first to be eliminated. This time, the police chief was wiser. If I can't find you, I'll just sit here and wait for you to come. Shamanov ran into the forest, but the police chief suddenly appeared in front of him, seemingly still underestimating this guy. Shamanov's trident was ready, and just as he threw it, the police chief's gun fired, hitting him directly. The police chief endured the pain and fled the scene. He was also sweating profusely, almost meeting his end. Seeing the hidden weapon above, he carefully stepped over the wooden planks. But he didn't expect that Shamanov hadn't run far and was right behind him. This is a battle between guns and knives between the police and special forces. With his right hand holding the gun, his left hand removed the magazine and pulled back the slide, ejecting the bullet. Just as the bullet was ejected, Shamanov grabbed it and delivered a thunderous slap to the police chief. In Russia, never anger a maroon beret paratrooper. The police chief was hit so hard that his ear bled. Don't you understand yet? Had enough? Take the injured away, forget about me. Consider that I never existed, understand? I'm not joking. If you don't do this, more people will die. The police chief, accustomed to being arrogant, wasn't afraid even with a kurpi knife at his throat. The police chief was unhelpful, so Shamanov punched him until he collapsed. The police chief, breathless, returned to the base of the mountain, where someone was waiting for him. He got angrier when he saw a guy wearing dark sunglasses trying to act cool, so he left angrily. This person was Colonel Demon from the Defense Intelligence Agency, who was Shamanov's trainer. No one understood Shamanov better than him. Only when something extremely unusual happened would Shamanov lose control like that. He advised the police chief to stop pursuing Shamanov, as this was the opportunity Shamanov was giving them to survive. If Shamanov wanted to kill, no one would be able to leave this forest alive. The police chief didn't bother to listen and dismissed Colonel Demon outright. At this moment, he received news that the helicopter would arrive in 15 minutes. This made him more confident, ordering everyone to surround the area in case Shamanov could appear at any moment, while he would personally enter the forest to eliminate Shamanov. Hearing the sound of the helicopter, Shamanov began to hide. The opponent had the advantage in the air, so he could only keep running and dodging the incoming gunfire. Ahead was a cliff. Without time to think, Shamanov immediately jumped down. Got him. Lower the altitude, don't worry, he's been hit, no one can survive that. The chief of police was still not reassured, ordering the helicopter to hover over the water for several minutes until it was nearly out of fuel before turning back. Shamanov originally did not want to kill, but he did not expect these people to be so ruthless towards him. It can only be said that they have successfully provoked a fierce beast. Not knowing how long he drifted, an old man discovered Shamanov on the shore. The old man's kindness saved him, bringing him home. And the old man's granddaughter was the girl Shamanov had rescued from the police station. Seeing Shamanov on the brink of death, the girl felt extremely guilty. It was all because of her that Shamanov was so severely injured. The old man removed the bullet from Shamanov's body, while the girl mustered all her courage to stitch up his wound. That night, Shamanov regained consciousness. To avoid implicating the grandfather and granddaughter, he planned to leave that very night. This time, the girl decided to go with him because she had no way back. If the sheriff found her, she would surely be killed. However, Shamanov's health was very weak. To ensure safety, the two decided to rest for a night in a nearby straw hut. Early the next morning, some uninvited guests arrived at the old man's house. They were armed with weapons, looking fierce. The old man did not welcome them but was shot by one of them. These were the escaped convicts that the police were hunting for. Shamanov heard the gunshot, and an inevitable battle was about to occur. The robber didn't even have time to understand what was happening before being shot down. Anyway, dying at the hands of a maroon beret paratrooper was not unjust. But why did they give Shamanov, a war hero, the chance to strike? Here's the story. 5 aggressive escaped convicts passed through the small town and barged into the old man's house. They cold-bloodedly killed the old man. The gunshot startled Shamanov, who was recovering in the stable. He handed his dagger to the girl and went out alone to assess the situation. At first, he pretended to be a weakling and infiltrated the group of robbers, but the girl hiding in the attic was discovered by a blonde man. He winked at the girl, then went outside and locked the door, deceiving the leader, and then winked at Shamanov. It turned out that these people were criminals wanted by the police. They planned to escape by water, but unfortunately, the boat's engine broke down. Shamanov proactively offered to help with the repairs. The leader looked at Shamanov's hands, which seemed to belong to someone experienced, so he agreed, and instructed the blonde man and another to keep an eye on him. But to disassemble the engine, tools were needed. Shamanov wanted to take this opportunity to leave and go to the stable to rescue the girl, but the blonde man stopped him. He said he could help Shamanov find the tools. Shamanov had no other choice but to let the blonde man go to the stable. The blonde man called the girl who was hiding in the attic to come down. After talking for a while, he revealed his true nature, but the girl's fierce resistance made him lose interest. Angry, he hung the girl up. In a panic, the girl kicked him in a sensitive spot and took the opportunity to run to another room. At this moment, she remembered the dagger that Shamanov had given her. The blonde guy also entered, carrying a trident. The girl seized the right moment to stab his leg with the dagger, then unleashed a series of 7-star consecutive strikes. A girl who was originally gentle, with weak hands and feet, was gradually pushed onto the path of killing. At this moment, after dealing with the guard, Shamanov immediately ran to the stables. He saw the girl with blood all over her face. At that moment, another bandit entered. Hearing the commotion, Shamanov turned around. The two almost simultaneously grabbed the barrel of the gun and each delivered a kick. Although the other guy was bigger in terms of combat skills, he was just a novice. The bandit grabbed Shamanov, intending to wrestle him down. Shamanov kicked him away. As soon as he picked up the gun, Shamanov grabbed a nearby sickle and stabbed it straight into his heart. Facing these inhumane thugs, Shamanov showed no mercy, directly switching to slaughter mode. He also did not hesitate with the bandit holding the hostage. The police and special forces rushed to the scene, seeing the bodies of 5 robbers. They no longer needed to bother with arrests. Seeing the kukri knife, the police chief knew that Shamanov was still alive. He angrily grabbed the girl, demanding to know where Shamanov was. Little did he know that Shamanov was nearby, observing everything. What he was doing to the girl, he would pay for many times over later. To force Shamanov to appear, the police chief coerced the girl into the car. At that moment, Shamanov suddenly appeared. The police chief was ready to fire his gun when the girl pushed him away. Turning back, Shamanov had already disappeared. Hearing the gunshot, the Special Forces commander arrived and reprimanded the police chief, helping the girl escape. This time, the Special Forces missed the 5 escaped convicts alive, but instead encountered a more dangerous individual. The higher-ups ordered the Special Forces to capture this terrorist alive. Shamanov ran straight to an abandoned building. The commander led the special forces in pursuit. Shamanov no longer wanted to fight, raising his hands against the wall in a gesture of surrender, but the opponent remained aggressive, even intending to use a stun gun to capture him alive. Hearing the sound of electricity, he knew he had to act. He was the toughest man of the warrior nation. An entire regiment of special forces couldn't do anything to him. "I surrender, kneel down." Not a single special forces member could withstand 3 of his moves. At this moment, the special forces commander ran up at such close range, with a pistol aimed at him. No matter how fast he was, he couldn't be faster than a bullet. Therefore, he threw the gun he had on him into the water, preparing to surrender. Unexpectedly, the commander put away his weapon, saying that the order from above was to capture him alive. Perhaps the commander had overestimated himself. Unexpectedly, as soon as he made a move, someone with top combat skills in the special forces like him was immediately taken down, without even a chance to resist. Shamanov easily countered the hooks and then delivered a powerful strike to the commander's chest, leaving him stunned. With another punch, the commander intended to use a move to subdue Shamanov, but unexpectedly he was countered and fell flat on his face. At this moment, the commander drew his pistol, only to find that his grenade had been taken by Shamanov. Shamanov did not want to harm innocent people, so he saved the commander who had fallen into the water, while he escaped through the water pipe. But the police chief would never let Shamanov go. This was his territory, so he knew every nook and cranny. This water pipe had only one exit. The police chief led his subordinates to tightly surround the exit. Soon, Shamanov appeared, but despite their numbers, these poor shooters couldn't hit him even once. Shamanov still sprinted at full speed into the small wooden house. Both sides engaged in fierce combat, but there was a strange phenomenon. The gun barrels emitted thick black smoke, yet the wooden planks of the house remained intact, without a scratch. Could it be that this house is made of granite? Seeing that they couldn't take down Shamanov, the police chief then took out a rocket launcher and fired directly at the house. The fire flared up fiercely. Looking at the burning wooden house, the police chief confidently said, "It's over. Find his body before nightfall." At this moment, the general visited the Special Forces commander who was in the hospital. A woman burst in. It was the girl that Shamanov always protected. Through the girl's story, the general gradually understood the whole situation. The police chief returned to his office and found Colonel Demon already waiting there. He waited to leave with Shamanov because he had a feeling that only by staying close to the police chief could he wait for Shamanov. His soldier was gone, leaving only his music player behind. Where's the body? The body will be found. Colonel Demon advised the police chief to drink some more brandy, preferably finish it, so that when Shamanov returns to take the Megapixel 3, he won't feel afraid. On the other side, the police discovered a secret tunnel. As soon as they stepped down, a gun was pointed at their face. Handed over, Shamanov, dressed in a police uniform, calmly walked to the car to take the driver's phone. When the driver got out of the car, he punched him, hijacked the police car, and sped away. The two police officers who tried to pursue were immediately knocked out by Shamanov. The guard, eating noodles and watching the World Cup, was placing more bets when the door was suddenly smashed to pieces. With a very clear objective, Shamanov headed straight for the police chief. By this time, the outside had already been surrounded by special forces. Colonel Demon stepped into the house, telling Shamanov that an entire army was waiting for him outside, only lacking tanks. He wanted to advise him to surrender and return to Moscow with him, but Shamanov would never do that. He couldn't stand the thought of someone else strangling him while gently asking, "How is it? Do you like it?" That is the situation of every citizen in this city. We are not ordinary people. We do not live in a fortress. We must take responsibility for our own lives for this world. Otherwise, my comrades would have died in vain, perished because of this scum. Surprisingly, Shamanov let the police chief go and sat quietly in the house, preparing to face the special forces. At this moment, the general arrived at the scene and ordered everyone to withdraw. Just as they were about to arrest the police chief, his subordinate suddenly took the girl hostage. The police chief stubbornly insisted that he was the best, boasting about what he had done for the town. At this moment, Shamanov emerged from the smoke. "Out already? This person just arrived here 3 days ago and look at the chaos he's caused." "What? Is anyone unhappy? Now let me find some joy for you. Major, don't rush." To everyone's surprise, Major Demon released the girl. The small town returned to peace. Receiving orders from Moscow, Shamanov and Lieutenant Colonel Demon returned to Moscow together. The girl kept watching as the car carrying Shamanov disappeared from view. The film ended here. The value of a film lies in its reputation, while the value of a film review lies in the perception. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching the film. What do you think of this film? Please comment below.